So still on operators, in this video we are going to be looking at comparison operators. So these operators compare two values and return a boolean value of true or false. When we're looking at data types, we looked at the boolean value, and we said when you talk of boolean, we can either have true or false. So when you talk of boolean values, then something can either be true or false. We can't have anything outside of this. So if you have a boolean, then it's either it's true or it's false. So when you compare two values, you return a boolean value depending on what the comparison is. So examples of these comparison operators are this. So when you are comparing two values, if they are equal, so you use this. Not equal to is this, greater than is this, less than is this, greater than or equal to is this, and less than or equal to is this. Let's see how these operators work. So we have two numbers on the screen. So we have num1 and we have num and num1. Let's call this num1 and num2. Okay. So we have num1 and num2. Let's just copy this to the browser, to our console. So don't like that. So we have these variables here. We want to perform some operations on them and see the result. So first we want to compare the two values and see if they are equal. So we're going to use the equal to comparison operator. So for the equal to, we say num1 equal to. Now there are two ways of doing this. First, you use the double equal to. So we say num1 equal to num2. And if we do this, we have true, because the values are equal. Okay, so now the second method is to use triple equal to. So it's either we have num1 like this equal to num2, or num1 equal to num2 like this. So the difference is that this compares only the value. So if I have two numbers, if I have num1 and num2, it's going to compare only by value. So it will check only if it only check the value. Does the value of this and this or are the values of this and this the same? So if the values are the same, it will go ahead to return true. If the values are not the same, it will return false. What this does is to check for both the value and the type. So if you are using the triple operator, the triple equal to operator, that means two things must happen for you to get it true. So the two values must be the same, and the data type must also be the same. Now let's change this to a string and see what happens. Now if we change this to a string, let's take this to browser. Okay, so we have two variables. The first variable is an integer, so this is a number. Looking at our data type, we have this is a number and this is an integer, right? So this is a number and this is an integer. So if I say num1, if I compare the values like this with double equal to, I say this is true. So even though this is a number and this is an integer, since the values are the same, it returns true. So you say yes, they are equal. So true means yes, they are equal, or whatever operation you are trying to do, if you get true, it means positive. So it means yes, it's true, what you are comparing is true. So in this case, it's comparing the two values. So the values of this guy and this guy are the same, even though the types are different. If I say num1 triple equal to num2, then we get a false. So even though the values are the same, the data type are not the same. So in this case, we get a false, right? So these two operators are very important. So depending on what you are trying to achieve, there are times you want to be strict, you want to check both the type and the values. So this compares both the type by type and value, while this compares just by value. So this doesn't care about the type of the data, whether it's a string or any other type. So all is bothered about is the value. So how it operates is it converts the two values into the same type, into the same data type, and then compares that. Why this checks both the value and the data type. So if the type is the same in both cases and the values are the same, then it will go on to return true. If not, if the two conditions are not met, then it will return false. So in this case, we can say that the values are the same, but the types are not the same. This is a string and this is a number, so the types are not the same, so we get a false. So if I change num2 back to number like this, and I do this operation num1 triple equal to num2, then we see we have a true now. So this returns a true. If I use a single or the double equal to, I still get my true, right? Okay, so this is how the comparison operator works. So you can either use this or this depending on what you want to do. And remember, this is strict, so it works with both the type and the value. So it doesn't only check with the value, it also checks with the type. So the type and the value must correspond to return a true. Why this doesn't bother about the type, it just returns true once the value is correct or it's the same. Then next we have not equal to. So if I want to check if this is not equal to num1, I can do this. Okay, so now, like we discussed before, this is quite this is flexible. So this is flexible. Again, it checks just the value, why this checks both the value and the number. So if we are saying num1 and num2 not equal to num1 not equal to num2, then it's going to check with both the value and the type to make sure the two are not equal to. So let's see the result. So if I say let's have this back. Okay, so if I say num1 not equal to num2, okay, so I get a false. So that means num1 is not equal to num2. if I do num1 is not equal to, like this, num2, I get a true. Now what is happening here? Even though these two values are the same, so we expect that these two values are the same. Now when you say not equal to, when you introduce the not operator, I think in the previous video we introduced the not operator. So when you say not equal to, so when you say not in this case, you are giving the opposite sense or the opposite meaning. So if the value or if the operation resulted to true, or if it's supposed to be true, so if I compare this, if I say num1 is equal to num2, in this case I'm comparing these two values. So if num1 and num2 are equal, then it should return true. So let's do this. So num1 is equal to num2, I get a true. Now when you introduce the not equal to, what it does is gives you the opposite of the usual meaning. So in this case I'm supposed to get a true, but if I introduce a not, I'm going to get a false. Okay, so the not operator gives you false if you are supposed to get a true, and it gives you true if you are supposed to get a false. So just have that at the back of your mind when performing these operations. So once you introduce a not, you are turning the statements the other way around. So if you are supposed to get a true, then you end up having a false. So if I say not true like this, you can say that we have false. So the not operator returns either a true or a false depending on the original value. So if the original value was supposed to be true, then you have false. If it's supposed to be false, you have true. So it gives you the opposite of what you have. So that's what the not operator does. So we have false here, and if I say not false, we have true. Of course, if I say not true, that means it's false. Anything that is not true is false. And if I say not false, anything that is not false is true. So it can either be true or false. So the not operator works with Boolean values, right? So it only works with Boolean values. So if I say not a value, that means it's going to convert whatever that was supposed to give me to the opposite side. So if it was supposed to be true, then it becomes false, and if it was supposed to be false, it becomes true. So if I say not true, then I have false, and if I say not false, I have true. So anytime we use a not operator, you have the opposite of the value. So coming back to our comparison here, in this case we said if we have num1 like this, num1 equal to like this, num2, I have true, right? I have true in the sense that these two values are equal. Now we are not bothered with the type, so we are just bothered with the values. Now when I introduce num1 not equal to, when I introduce a not operator, and of course when you are introducing the not operator, you have to replace one of these equal to sign. So if I do this is a different thing. So this is for the double equal to, right? So you have to replace one of the equal to here. So we have not equal to num2, and you can see this is false. This evaluated to true, and this is evaluating to false. That's because the not operator gives you the opposite of what the real statement is supposed to give. So in this case, the statement here equal to is supposed to give us true, but introducing not gave us false, so it gives us the opposite of that value. So what is this value saying? What's this comparison about? Now we are saying num1 is not equal to num2. Now that is a statement, and it's either going to give us true or false. Now if this statement is true, that means what you said is correct. That's the meaning of true. The statement is going to be false if what you said is not correct. Now in this case, we said num1 is equal to num2. This is a statement, and this statement is true as long as this operator is concerned, because these values are the same. 30 and 30 are the same, even though they are in two different types, right? So this statement is correct, so that's why we have true. Coming here, num1 is not equal to num2. This statement is not correct, so we have false because it's not true. Num1 is equal to num2 because the values are the same. So that's what this is. That's what this statement means. So num1 is not equal to num2. Now when you evaluate the statement, is the statement true? If the statement is true, we get a true as a value returned from this statement. If the statement is not true, then we have a false. Then we have num2. If we use num2, num1, and we use triple equal to num2, we have false, because in this case we are saying is these two values the same, and are their types the same too? So in this case, we are checking with both the values and the types. So are these two values the same, and are their types the same? So if the two values are the same and their types are also the same, then it will return true. But in this case, it's false because these two values are the same but their types are not the same. So the two values are the same, but the types, one is number, one is string, so the types are not the same, so we get a false. But if we introduce the not operator, not equal to, and like I said, when you are introducing the not operator, then the not has to replace one of these equal to signs. So we have num1 not equal to num2. So since this is giving you the opposite of this statement, then if I say num1 is not equal to num2, by this operator, this statement is correct, because num1, 30 and 30, they are the same, but the types are different, so they are not equal. So this statement is correct, so that's why we have true. So when you are comparing these values like this, know that we get a true if whatever statement you made is correct. So if your statement is correct, you get a true, and if your statement is not correct, you get a false. Okay, so this video is long enough, and I think we should end it here. So that's it for this video. We'll continue in the next video. Thank you.